Hi friends, welcome to the Unit 3 Day 3 notes. Today we're going to be talking about conditions for parallelograms. One of the things that we can use is some of the theorems listed here to determine whether or not a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So there are certain requirements that have to take place for a quadrilateral to actually be a parallelogram. Let's jump in to find out more. If one pair of opposite sides of a quadrilateral are parallel and congruent. So an example of that would be if this side BC is parallel and congruent. So we're going to use the congruency mark. Remember, you don't actually have to show the congruency mark in the middle. It could be anywhere along. Same with parallel arrows to show that the line segments are parallel. Then what happens is this then it is a parallelogram, it being the shape. So notice that I gave you the example with this orientation, and all of these examples have a very similar orientation, but it doesn't have to be like this. It could be tilted, it could be sideways, it could be off, just rotated at a certain angle, so it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly like this shape. If both pairs of opposite sides of a quadrilateral are congruent, so that means that I have this side congruent with this side, and this side congruent with this side. Notice that it says opposite sides, so the sides do need to be opposite. Then it is a parallelogram. If both pairs of opposite angles of a quadrilateral are congruent, so if this angle and that angle are congruent, and this angle and this angle are congruent, then it is a parallelogram. Hopefully you're starting to see a pattern here. If an angle of a quadrilateral is supplementary to both of its consecutive angles, then, well, what it means if a angle is supplementary to both of its consecutive angles. So if I have an angle here, so let's say an angle here with C, angle C is X degrees, then angle B and angle D are going to both be 180 minus X degrees. And what that means is that whatever measurement this is, these two are going to be the same, just added together with X to obtain that 180 degrees. Then it is a parallelogram. It is a parallelogram. There we go. If the diagonals of a quadrilateral bisect each other, so that means that this is congruent, this segment's congruent to this segment, and this segment AZ is congruent to segment ZC. So these segments, notice that the diagonals are congruent to the next sequential part of the diagonal. That's what it means to bisect. Remember, bisect means cut in half. It doesn't mean that this and this are congruent and this side, those two segments are congruent. It means the ones that bisect, that run through one another. Then it is a parallelogram. Helps if I spell parallelogram correctly. Sorry. Parallelogram. So these are 5 different conditions for a quadrilateral to become a parallelogram or to be a parallelogram using information we know. So for this bottom here, explain how we know that each quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So this one, it's saying that it is, we just have to say why. So this one, 75 degrees and 105 degrees, those total up to be 180. These here add up to be 180. 180 degrees. And these here also add up to be 180 degrees. So that means that these two angles are supplementary with 75 degrees. That goes with if an angle of a quadrilateral is supplementary to both of its consecutive angles. So this is, so we have an angle is supplementary to both its consecutive angles. And this one here, 73 and 73 are the same length. So these two are congruent, these sides are congruent, and 98 is the same length as 98. Those two sides are congruent. So that's if both pairs of opposite sides of a quadrilateral are congruent, then it is a parallelogram. So we have both, let's do pairs, both pairs of opposite sides are congruent. And then here on 3, this is the one I was talking about where the diagonals bisect each other. So with this one, what we have is both pairs. Is that how it's worded? Oh, just if the diagonals, sorry. Oh. So this one, the diagonals bisect each other. And then with number 4 here, what we have is we have these, it's kind of hard to see, but those are the parallel arrows, and then these sides are the same length. So now we know one pair of opposite sides. Oh, I'm sorry for me yawning. Ooh. One pair of opposite sides are parallel and congruent. All right. During the next video, we're going to talk about how to find values of x to make a quadrilateral a parallelogram. Have a wonderful day.